And what is leadership? You're serving. At the end of the day, you're serving others. You're giving everybody what they need to be successful, tools, training, systems, and support, and clear direction, in no uncertain terms, exactly what's expected and when. And you measure that performance, you hold the behavior accountable to that goal, and then you move forward from there.
My name is Hannes Henke, and today we have a very special guest, Craig Diggerson. Founder and CEO of Diggerson International, Craig is a serial entrepreneur and real estate developer. With over 2 decades of experience, he has built hundreds of homes and commercial buildings, started a range of companies from the ground up, and coached and mentored hundreds of people. His current mentees have over $2 billion in assets under management and deals in process. Craig has served in the United States Navy, and he has always been known for his willingness to serve on boards and non-profit organizations. Thanks for coming to the show, Craig.
Hannes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, obviously, someone like you with an ocean of knowledge, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you. So where did you start your money and wealth journey?
Yeah, so, I went in the Navy right out of high school. I'm a natural born entrepreneur. I was the kid that would go around knocking on doors looking to make money. So my dad basically taught me, he said, if you want something, you need to figure out, how to make the money so you can go get what you want. He wouldn't give me the money for it. So, as a young kid, I'd knock on doors, cut grass, rake yards, wash cars, whatever it took to make the money. So that's kind of how I'm wired. And then, everybody in my family were military, so I knew I was going to go in the military right after high school. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to get started on my entrepreneurial journey, but I wanted to serve my country as well. So I did 4 years, got out of the military, and the only 2 things that I did before I went in the military when I was in high school was working odd jobs and restaurants. So I have a restaurant background as well. My first restaurant job was making and delivering pizzas, and then after that, I went to work for a restaurant chain, local seafood restaurant chain, and was a dishwasher busboy. And then I learned how to become a prep cook, and then learned how to become a cook, and then work my way into management and that kind of thing. So did that while I was waiting to go into the Navy in my high school years. After the military, when I got out, I worked in restaurants at night, and I always had a little construction side business during the day. And the way I got into that was one of the guys that was working on the restaurant, he was building an addition on the restaurant, and he hired me to come clean up after him. So I'm a hard worker, and he liked me. So I started following him around to his other jobs and helping him and kind of learning from there. Part of my restaurant journey was I worked for Lone Star Steakhouses, and I was a district manager for them, running restaurants in the western part of North Carolina. And I moved to the Outer Banks of North Carolina in 1997. I wanted to open restaurants there, but instead I ended up getting into construction. So I started a little remodeling handyman company. It was just me, my truck, my tools. I had no money, no backers. Nobody in my family were entrepreneurs. Nobody in my family lived there. We just moved to that area because I'm a surfer, lifelong surfer, and that was the best surf on the East Coast. And I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia, so I wanted to live on the Outer Banks. So anyways, I moved there in 1997. Trying to get an addition put on my house and get some work done, around the house that I bought, nobody would call you back. So where there's a problem, there's an opportunity. So I started talking to my neighbors, and my neighbors said, yeah, everybody's so busy, you can't get anything done. So I started a little construction company doing remodeling handyman work. My first year, I did $250,000 in sales. 7 years later, I built that into a $30 million building company. We were a building development company. Started 12 other companies along the way and reinvested all the profits into other real estate development projects and scaled it into hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate deals that I did with my own money. No investors, no backers, just me. And then I did, do deals with other people as well, hundreds of millions with other people. And then, other venture capital investments and equity capital investments and things like that. So, that's the long story short, 25 years now since I started my full-time entrepreneurial journey, and, still moving forward.
Yeah. Me being an immigrant, it's your journey just sounds like the true American dream story, literally from the dishwasher to the millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. And a laborer. So when I started in construction, I was cleaning up job sites, toting lumber, shoveling, rocks into wheelbarrows, and, grunt work all day, every day. So yeah, I'm the literal definition of, working hard, working smarter as I went along. Even though I don't have a formal education, I'm very highly self-educated. So, I read business books, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and, what I got out of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a lot of people get real estate out of that book. What I got out of that book when I launched my, first companies back in 1997 was I wanted to be rich dad. So what I got out of that book was you want to own businesses that generate cash flow so you can invest in other assets. And, contrary to what everybody thinks, the best investments you can make are usually in businesses. And then what you want to do is take that cash and you want to reinvest that into other assets. And for a lot of people, your income, your job is your business right now. If you're making, a good income, that is your business. So you want to multiply and, take advantage of the velocity of your cash that you're generating from your job or your business, reinvest that in other assets. And, for me, real estate was a natural fit because I was in construction and I was working for some people, other developers and investors that were buying properties, renovating them and renting them out, building, properties and things like that. So I learned from them how to do those things. I'd never built a house before, didn't know how to do it until I started working for other people that were doing those things. So I learned from them. And, the way I grew and scaled my company was hiring people that had built multi-million-dollar beach houses. I'd never done that. I hired them, had them come work with me to build the company, and I learned from them and let them do their thing.
Yeah. You just said something that if you own a business and you have that kind of cash and also kind of recurring cash flow, that's when real estate also as an asset becomes more interesting. And I think that's something that I observed with people that build some of the larger real estate empires that we maybe see on social media and YouTube. Like, for example, Grant Cardone has a highly profitable business and he takes, I would assume, a lot of that money and puts it back into real estate. And I think you in your own right, you did that. You build businesses, but you also make sure that you use the money that's coming out of those businesses wisely.
Yeah. A lot of the most successful people, countries, individuals in the history of the world stored their wealth in real estate. I mean, that's where it was originally. It was either gold or real estate is where nations, sovereigns, high net worth individuals, billionaires, investors, that's generally where you had. And then, of course, when the stock market came along and equities and things like that, that became another avenue, to store wealth. But still, the number one, storehouse for wealth is still real estate. Gold obviously is still, storehouse of wealth. And there are, Bitcoin is becoming somewhat of that, in the cryptocurrency world. And, so there's other alternatives out there. But with real estate, you've got leverage, you've got tax benefits, you've got residual income. And to your point, Grant Cardone, I mean, his story is not unique. I mean, he started as a car salesman and then he started teaching people how to do that, how to be successful in car sales. And then he started buying small multifamily properties and, then just kind of went from there. And, all of the profits that he earned, he poured it back into basically multifamily real estate. That's kind of how he did it. And he's really, like, you see where he's at now, he's really only been on this path for about the last 13, 14 years, where he really blew up his social media, started doing events, and started really doing the multifamily syndication thing. So, he's gone from nothing to, I think his portfolio is about $4 billion in properties right now, assets under management, and probably 15 years of that business model. But he's been doing it for 30.
Yeah. And obviously, it sounds like, wow, a decade, a little bit over a decade, but the groundwork that went in was also all of the skills that he started accumulating and the knowledge that he started accumulating. And a lot of that teaching content that he now, I think that's actually very interesting because he reutilizes and retools it in so many ways. And once recorded content gets like infinitely valuable for him. I mean, that's the power of digital content, right? You can repackage it, you can put it in a new bundle and offer it to someone else at a different price point.
Yep. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to real estate. I mean, that's really the ultimate, warehouse for wealth. That's your store of value, asset of choice for the ultra rich, for nations, for investment funds. That's generally, where people store their wealth at different levels. Like, for institutions, a lot of times it's in mortgages. They'll invest in mortgages, but now more and more institutions, sovereign wealth funds, hedge funds, investment funds, pension funds are buying real estate directly. We're seeing that a lot now where they used to only invest in the financial instruments. And, in that sector, we have seen over the last few years with everything that's happened, the safest, area in that sector is multifamily. People need a roof over their head, single family as well, single family, multifamily. People need a roof over their head. And then beyond that, you look at all of the necessary, types of assets out there that you have to have. So, medical, dental, food, shelter, all that are, those types of things that people have to have that they can't, outsource, they can't do virtually. People have to go to the doctor, they have to go to the dentist, they have to go get food at the grocery store. Right now they have to fill their car up with gas until, electric vehicles take over. So, you want those necessary types of assets, that you just can't get rid of and you can't do without. And of course, housing is number one. Everybody needs a roof over their head. So, that's the number one asset to own in real estate.
Do you think there's any innovation in the way we build in the US? And one of the examples that I've seen recently is, they started a test trial in a town where they 3D printed single family houses. Do you think there's any innovation coming at the space that's significant enough to make a dent in the shortage that we have in housing right now?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, there's some limitations to those 3D printed homes in a lot of different ways, but they're becoming more and more popular. There's communities that are being built for rent, with 3D printed homes. They are quicker. They're more energy efficient. They're more fire resistant. But not a lot of people like a concrete house. But, you go to the southern parts of the country, Florida, those areas that are building houses out of block anyway. So I think, as that becomes more mainstream, that is probably the leader of the pack in building systems technology. It was modular and manufactured homes that have come a long way. But those, at the end of the day, they don't really save you a whole lot of money. They might save you some time, but not necessarily a whole lot of money. And even then, there's a big backlog. So that's probably the leader of the pack in terms of, the best, alternative building, system that's out there right now that could potentially take off, and then trying to scale it into bigger projects is, kind of where, that potentially could go, where you could build multifamily with it, you can build commercial buildings with it. But, right now it's relatively new technology in this country.
Yeah. For someone that is earning maybe lower six figures or multiple six figures, where do you think they can make a good investment right now? The market is, in a fearful state for the general public. The news is such that nobody is very comfortable. Where do you think a private investor can make sense of this that is just getting started?
Yeah, it's getting kind of tricky right now with what's going on with the banks, things like that. So, you have to really understand what's happening with the banks, what's going on in the economy. The markets are in transition right now. The economy's teetering on, a financial collapse in the banking sector, potentially. Obviously, the Fed and, the Treasury are doing things to kind of backstop the banking world, around the world. Central banks and treasuries around the world are stepping in and putting measures in place to keep banks from failing. And to protect depositors. But, from a growth standpoint, like what I've talked about, obviously, if you have a business, usually the number one highest velocity play on your cash reinvested is generally going to be in your business to grow and scale your business or other businesses. That's where you can get exponential multiples, way faster and way better than anything else. Real estate's a slower game. Real estate is another place where, you can compound your cash. You can get a real good return on the velocity of your cash. For me, that's what I've always been about, stacking, cash, taking cash, compounding that, and taking advantage of the velocity of that. And for me, it was real estate development. That's where your highest margins are. That's where your best returns are. I'm a real estate developer. That's what I've done my whole career. So, that to me was a great vehicle, and it has been for a lot of people. And then, beyond that would be, like what you're doing in the syndication business, because you can do really, really big deals, by pooling investors. And, generally your limited partner investors can get double-digit returns, which is very difficult. The markets generally, if you're just putting your money with a wealth manager, or you're just, diversifying, if you could get 10% a year, you're doing pretty good. Most people have not been getting that in the markets. So if you can get, higher double-digit returns investing, in multifamily properties and things like that as a limited partner investor, and you can get depreciation as well. That's a great vehicle. If you're investing on your own and you want to do, your own thing as an owner operator, you can do your own multifamily properties, kind of like what Grant did, and do your own thing that way. Or you can buy, short-term rentals. You can buy year-round rentals. The real estate market from an investment ownership, is just one of the best places, where you can get the highest returns, and because you can leverage. So if you're investing in markets, you got to invest cash. You can't borrow. Well, you can, but it's not a good idea. Like, you can leverage equity in a house, you can leverage other things and use borrowed money to invest in markets. And cryptos, like one of the best examples of that was Michael Saylor. He's borrowed money on his company to buy Bitcoin, and we'll see if that works out for him in the long run. Probably will, but a very risky proposition. But with real estate, you can do it with no money down. You can do it, through creative financing. You can do it with, little money down, get the banks to do the rest. There's so many ways you can lever up and compound that cash, the velocity of the cash invested. So, that was always my play over the years.
Yeah. You have some very successful students in the short-term rental space. What would you say are some of the key drivers in that space, and which markets are those students succeeding in?
So generally markets where, there's demand drivers, where people are going to want to go and visit. So during the pandemic, Airbnb just blew up everywhere. Short-term rentals, people just went anywhere and everywhere just to get away. But generally, that's the market I started in. I was in a resort coastal market off the coast of North Carolina. So it was a summer vacation destination. It's a short season, so your cash flows aren't as good as other areas. But if you get into the mountainous areas, some of the more year-round beach areas, like the southern parts of the country where it's warmer all year round, you can get more rent all year round. And so those are the markets that you want to look at where, short-term rentals have always been kind of a thing, and you're not going to get resistance, to that, like you're seeing in some of the cities that are, the hotels are kind of coming out and lobbying against short-term rentals and things like that. But, the cash flows are good. Short-term rentals are popular, but you just need to make sure that, you're not doing it just anywhere. You want to make sure you've got, an area where there's something that's going to bring people to the area. We have national parks, the seashore, mountains, ski resorts, tourist destinations, things like that. So anything around those areas does really well. And then people are looking for experiences. So a lot of the people that, are doing short-term rentals that are in my program, some of them are doing, nuanced types of things like either cabins, or they're doing multi-property compound kind of things, and, a lot of different avenues. But yeah, I've got some people doing short-term rentals that are just killing it. One property netting, $40,000, $50,000 a year on a $300,000 investment. You're not going to get that kind of return anywhere else.
Yeah, that's right. But it also, I guess it takes more management, and you need to refine your systems to keep it, I would say, smoothly operating compared to other investments that you could do.
Yeah. You have a couple of choices. You can hire professional property managers, or you do it yourself. The people that are making the most are doing it themselves. And there's so many, systems and technologies out there that it's pretty easy. But at the end of the day, unless you hire somebody to deal with the guests and, manage all that, you still have to kind of take care of some of that. But there's so much technology out there that just kind of automates everything in that process. It's one of the easiest types of property to manage. And the cool thing about short-term rentals is you never have to worry about evictions, collections, or, vacancies like you do in traditional properties. Those are the three things that attract me to the short-term rental market. I've never really been one to own long-term rentals. The short-term rentals were the only types of properties that I ever owned in the residential world. And midterm rentals are really good too. So for like traveling nurses, traveling professionals, just people in transition, looking for turnkey furnished, midterm rentals, those are really profitable as well.
Yeah. You're making a really good point, is not having to deal with, getting the money in is a big thing. Like I'm just right now dealing with one of the oldest rentals we have in my family. It has nothing to do with what we do in multifamily, but it's such a headache, and it's just one house. And there's a tenant who's not paying up everything, and it's one of the reasons I've always eyed on multifamily real estate, because there it's different. You're doing it at a professional scale, where you have a team of people supporting you in the process. But if anybody is doing it on a smaller scale, I think having that short-term aspect where, like, if you use Airbnb, they just give you the money, and unless there's a dispute or something, everything runs smoothly.
Yeah, and single family rentals are, I mean, that's where Grant Cardone started with one house and he learned real quick that's not where you want to be. I do have a client in my coaching program that he does not, I've got a couple that do nothing but residential. He's got, I don't know, 400 or 500 doors, something like that. They each net about $500 a month in positive cash flow, single family homes. He's got, big portfolios of single family homes. And I've known a lot of people and coached a lot of people over the years that's worked very well for them, but they usually have somebody on staff that manages the property so they don't have to personally deal with it, or they have a property management company to manage those. So it can work, but as you've experienced, you've got one roof, they're all kind of fragmented out and scattered all around different areas. So it's not as efficient as, one big building. So having all the doors under one roof, there's a lot of efficiencies of the operations. You can get, better quality property management. They're easier to finance. There's a lot of advantages to doing, large multifamily deals. And, really the big thing is you can really go big and scale that, really fast. And again, they're much easier to operate and a little bit different than single family homes. One tenant can destroy your entire year's income on a single family home where, you have 5% of your tenants go bad in a multifamily. It's not going to affect that building if you've got 2, 3, 4, 500 doors.
Yeah.
In that one property.
And I think that's why we see so many successful investors, even if they're done really well in the single family home, there seems to be a natural progression where if they spend a decade or more, even collecting maybe hundreds of homes, that they eventually make the transition and like, hey, this can be scaled in a completely different fashion. And I think from what I've experienced personally, the quality of life is better on the multifamily because you just have the ability to work with teams. And as you said, you're not as scattered in the effort. There's a lot more efficiency, which just allows for a better quality of life.
Yeah, it is. And commercial is the same way. So the right kind of commercial assets can be, exactly the same thing. You're dealing with, 1 or 2 tenants. They're generally business owners or, corporations and, a lot less headache. Storage can be good too, but storage is, that's more retail, component to there and a little bit more operational systems that you need. But again, you can hire managers to manage your self-storage as well. But you just can't beat larger properties because there's just, so much more. You're so much more well insulated, well diversified, and single family can be good, but again, it's so fragmented. So for me, my favorite aspects of single family is obviously short-term rentals. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. Then you get into multifamily. Hotels can be good, but those again that's a retail operation. And the key is like what I was talking about earlier. We learned over the last few years from the pandemic, forward, what is essential? What's an essential business? What's an essential need that people have to have that they can't go online and get? So when you think about what kind of assets you want to own those types of assets. When the economy's melting down, when the world is locked down, what does people still need, from a property standpoint, and goods and services? Those are the types of businesses and assets you want to be in and own.
Yeah. So what qualifies like a perfect mentee for yourself? Who is perfect for your mastermind? Who are the people that not only qualify, but would get the most out of working with you?
Yeah. So I've got courses for people at all levels. So online courses that, they're like a digital version of a book that people can do. And those are real cheap, $95 or, each, or $195 for all of them. But as far as my 2 coaching programs, so I have a mastermind coaching program, it's a weekly thing where I lead the programs. And, that's for people that, are at some level of success. They have to be able to afford the program, obviously. So they've got to have some level of success that they've already achieved, be able to afford, the entry into the program, and that are looking to grow, connect with other people. That group is really thriving, really good. I've got a lot of medical, dental professionals in there. I've got some professional athletes in there. I've got entrepreneurs and investors doing all kinds of things around the world. That are in there, all different types, multifamily, doing development, doing single family, doing, short-term rentals. There's different people doing different things. So we all come together, and then it's me coaching them, and then they're connecting and doing deals together and supporting each other and, raising capital and doing all kinds of things. So that's really awesome. So that group is really good for anybody that's, really looking to get to the next level in their business, looking for, those support pieces, and then getting coaching from me in that environment on a weekly basis, because I lead that group every week. And then they all connect, offline separately. And then I have a one-on-one program as well, for people that, are ready to really get to the next level and, want that one-on-one, access to me, anytime they want, business hours, Monday through Friday.
Yeah. And I mean, some of your students have completely taken it from like zero to another level, and I think that's what speaks to any program, is the success of the students. It's where you see not just one or two, but an entire shelf full of testimonials where people are like, this is how I went from here to here, and Craig made a significant difference. So I also want to acknowledge you for being that kind of teacher that actually gets their students solid results and takes them to another level.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's a lot of fun, and that's what I get the biggest kick out of, because usually it's one phone call. So generally, like I have one client that was doing his first development deal, mixed use development with some commercial, some townhouses, and some single family, and he's doing them build to rent, all of it. And he might sell some on the houses, but right now he wants to build them all and hang on to them. And he came to me. I helped him negotiate the purchase on the land. During the process, I made one suggestion on one phone call that saved him $3 million on his site work. I said, look, we need to go get this piece of land. It'll save you a bunch of money and get you some extra units. So one phone call, we identified the opportunity, saved him $3 million in the cost of the site work, enabled him to get another 10 units for the project that were each worth another $1 million each. So that was another $10 million added to the value of the project and income and all that. And, now he's doing his next deal. He met somebody in the mastermind. They're doing a joint venture, doing another ground up deal. And he's getting ready to exit his dental practice, for 8 figures. So that's the other thing. I help people grow and scale their business, because almost everybody in there is either an investor or a business owner somewhere else. So it's not just the real estate. I help people with their business as well. And, you've seen the stories. There's other clients in there. I had one client that he'd been a real estate investor, residential broker, and, owned some commercial properties, for, 10, 12 years before he came into my mentorship program and mastermind. And I worked with him on one deal. It was a 4-property portfolio that he took down. I showed him how to take that deal down, where he ended up doing the whole thing with zero money out of his pocket, ended up with $100,000 in positive cash flow after the deal was done, and $1 million in equity like the day he closed, and zero money out of his pocket, 4 commercial properties. He had no clue how to do it. He said, hey, I got this deal. I don't have the money. How do we do this? So I coached him through the whole process, and really one phone call showed him exactly how to do it, and he went and did it. So, and I get those over and over and over, because a lot of times that's just, what it is. I had a couple of house flippers that were clients. They'd been flipping houses for 6 or 7 years before they joined, the program. And one phone call, coaching them, showing them what to do. Of course, I coached them after that, but really on the one phone call, it identified everything they needed to do to go from, they probably made $200,000-300,000 was the most they ever made flipping houses. And they've been doing it for 6 years. They made $1.2 million after the first year of working with me. So, that's the kind of thing, that it does for people. And, those are the types of people that I'm looking for. And I've got one guy who is an immigrant, and, he's a restaurateur. And he, was taking his cash and putting it into multifamily projects and doing his first ground up multifamily projects. But another story of somebody that came to this country with absolutely nothing, started restaurants, took his cash he was making from his restaurants, reinvesting it in real estate development projects, and him and his brother, and doing, 4 or 5 mixed use, $20-30 million multifamily buildings, in the Boston area. So just story after story. And it's just so much fun.
See, this is where knowledge meets opportunity paired with hard work. Like, it's the people that actually pull the trigger. And I think that's also the beauty of being a coach that gets to work with someone who actually follows through. Like, I think there's actually nothing as disappointing as having to teach people that don't care. And then the opposite of that is truly to work with people who are on fire and actually get stuff done and actually apply the knowledge that, it's being put forward. Yeah,
that's the key. You got to want to do something. And, and what's really cool about it, so the big part of what I do is, I teach people how to be a real estate developer, how to be, a multifamily syndicator, and build a portfolio to whatever level you want to build to and beyond. And, in that world, I've taken clients from 100 million assets under management to $1 billion. I've taken people from, $1 billion to $3 billion. I've taken people from 0 to 100 million. So yeah, knowledge is great. Like you're a chef, you can have all that knowledge in the world of, everything that you need to know, starting from, your cutlery through your ingredients, through, your techniques. But if you don't do something with it, it's not going to do you any good. You took that knowledge and you put it into action in your career and you became a, renowned chef. And, that's really the key. So at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. It's like, who do you need to become to achieve what it is you're trying to achieve? And, what does your business or company need to look like to achieve those goals? So that's the big thing that I drill down on with people, because a lot of people just don't understand, what that looks like or how to even do that. And more importantly, what do I take action on? Like you said, so I've got the knowledge, I've got the skills, I got the experience. I need to now take that and I need to apply it to the right things at the right time, in the right ways, so that I get the results that I'm looking for. And then, that's what it really boils down to, is that there's just so much out there right now. People just don't even know what to focus on, and they don't know what to apply their actions to. So it's the right knowledge applied to the right vehicle at the right time in the right way. That's when, greatness happens. And, more importantly than that, the real key to all of it is, if you're going to get to the next level, you got to become that leader, delegator, motivator. You have to get out there and you have to build a team and lead that team, to get to the end goal. And that's, a lot of people don't know how to do that either. So, those are the types of things that, I help people with and work with people, and that's why they get such great results so fast, because those are the things that we focus on.
Yeah. So what would you say are some of the challenges or roadblocks that the majority of your students has to overcome in order to execute on that level?
They don't know what they don't know. So at the end of the day, you just don't know what you don't know. So, you don't know how to go raise $100 million if that's what you need to do. I know how to do that. You don't know how to take down a $100 million property. You don't know how to go from doing, if you're a developer, building one project, you don't know how to get it out of the ground and what you need to do and who you need to talk to and how it works. How do you find the land, get it entitled, find the right architects, engineers, contractors, the right financing, bring all that together to get it out of the ground. So at the end of the day, for most people, it's they either don't know what they don't know, or what they think they know to be true is not, or there's just so many things they don't know what to focus on. So I mean, those are the things that we zero in on, and really that last one is a big one. Most entrepreneurs in this day and age, there's so much information out there, so many different things you can do, they just don't know what to focus on, and that's what I really help them do. I really help them drill down into what are your God-given talents, gifts, and abilities, and what does that need to apply, what do we need to apply that to really exponentially scale things for you. So, that's kind of what I help people figure out. And a lot of people, like I said, they already know what to do, they just don't know what to apply it to. And those types of things.
You just said one thing, that people kind of need to define, or rather find out, what their God-given talents are. How do you help them bring that forth? Because I think that's such a somewhat untangible journey for many. And it's like, I do believe that everybody has something that if they truly tap into it, you can call it a state of flow, but there is something that we're all good at that feels so natural to us that we don't look at it at work. But for the rest of the world, it's work, and there's actually value in it, and bringing it out. How do you help people kind of find that out for themselves?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a big part of it. It's what comes easy to you. What's coming easy to you? What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? What would you do even if you didn't get paid to do? Now, this is in the business world, in terms of, vocation and making money. We all have our passions that, are non-productive, but I'm talking about in the business sense, in the business world, what are you passionate about, and what are you the best at that comes the easiest to you? That's the sweet spot right there. And that's what we help people kind of figure out. And then the rest of it, you outsource and you delegate, so that you can focus on the one thing that's going to really move the needle, down the road. And that's the biggest problem with most people is, number one, they either aren't able to identify or aren't honest with where they really are. They don't know where they really want to be or go. And, they're not sure what they should be focusing on to get there. So that's kind of what we start with. Where do you stand now? Where do you want to be? And then we get that one or two things that you need to be focusing on and do nothing but that. We outsource and automate everything else so that you can get there in a way, that's exponential. And, like for me, so I'm a leader, delegator, motivator. I'm great at building teams, leading people. I've been a coach and a mentor my whole career. all of the different companies I had. And that's what makes me so unique, is that I've done so many different things in so many different types of businesses over the years, building, scaling, and exiting companies and doing all kinds of different real estate deals, all different types of assets and, class and ground up, value add, opportunistic, adaptive reuse, just all of it. I've really honed, what I really did was I poured in myself as a leader. So I honed my ability to find good people and to coach and lead them to the end goal and really understand what people's talents are, putting those right people in the right places, to get to the end goal. And, that's what's so interesting and so unique about what I'm able to do is just, I've just got so much experience doing all of these different things. But at the end of the day, I was a coach and a mentor. I was a leader. So I didn't work in any of my companies, and I still don't now. I coach people. So either I find a leader and put them in place, or the company already had a leader, then I just coached them. And same thing with my development projects or my real estate projects. I'm leading that team. When you do a multifamily deal and you take that down, you're leading the team. You're leading your investors, your lenders, your title companies, the property managers, everything. You're leading that entire process, and that's really the key that a lot of people don't recognize, that they need to be. And what is leadership? You're serving. At the end of the day, you're serving others. You're giving everybody what they need to be successful, tools, training, systems, and support, and clear direction, in no uncertain terms, exactly what's expected and when. And you measure that performance, you hold the behavior accountable to that goal, and then you move forward from there. So those in a nutshell are, the things that we do and work on that I help people become.
Yeah, and I think what you just said, also it reminds me a bit of the success that I've seen with people, for example, like Tony Robbins. He is a leader and motivator and a delegator too. And he runs so many different businesses that from an outside perspective are completely unrelated. Like some of them are health, some of them are motivation and coaching, others are completely different. But I think what he also applies is what you said is, he knows how to build the teams and how to put the real executors, the managers in place, and how to keep everybody engaged, motivated, and walking in the right direction as a union, as a team, to get the results that everybody's looking for.
Exactly. And you had to do the same thing as a chef in the restaurant. As the head chef, you're leading a team. You've got to get the end result, which is, service has to start at 5:00 and people have to be wowed. You need raving fan, customers out there, world-class, raving fan customer service. You need a world-class dining experience. That takes a team. Somebody's got to lead that team. And, at the end of the day, that's where my best business training came from, was restaurants. Because number one, you learn your numbers, right? So the other part of the business that we dig into is the numbers. So that's the other aspect. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And more importantly, what numbers do you need to be focusing on? So what the restaurants taught me was it's all in the numbers. Squeeze a nickel out of a penny. It taught me leadership, management, working with others, working under pressure, all those things. The restaurant industry is one of the greatest business leadership incubators I think there is on the planet. And, teaches you how to multitask. So I was always able to do a lot of different things efficiently, in that environment. And then I took that into the, real estate and construction and business world and used those skill sets along the way. Plus, like I said, I've constantly educating myself, developing myself, building my leadership skills. And I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my own education, probably millions at the end of the day when you factor in the people that I've paid that work for me that I learned from, the mistakes I've made, but just formal, buying books, courses, and going to seminars, probably $400,000 I've spent on my own personal professional development over the years, and then millions, hiring people to work for me and paying them so I can learn from them. So mentors, come in a lot of different ways. And, those are the types of ways that I've learned. But you got to educate yourself. You got to pour into yourself. You have to develop yourself. You have to constantly, be engaging, joining masterminds, going to seminars, whatever it is you like to do, books, courses, whatever. Those are the types of things you have to continually do so that you can get yourself to the next level. And when you look at any great leader, whether it's a Tony Robbins, or business person, or, people in industry, I watched something on 60 Minutes last night, and another, story of an immigrant that came to this country with nothing. He's a billionaire now, just bought a soccer team in Italy. I can't remember his name, but great story. He was in the, cable industry, like underground cable industry. Same thing, educated himself, got an MBA, and then, went out and took action and identified an opportunity and acted on it. And now he's got this, huge company, and he's a billionaire, and just a regular guy, doesn't fly around in private jets and big yachts and all that stuff. Just a Warren Buffett kind of a, humble, nimble kind of guy, Sam Walton kind of guy,
Yeah. I like those type of human beings, no? Like that are not too flashy, that, I don't know, that come from a sense of service.
Yep, exactly.
So, Greg, one of my last and favorite question is always like, what do you consider a life well lived?
So to me, it's all about impact. It's all about helping others, serving others, helping others achieve their goals and their dreams and, the fulfillment in their lives that they're looking for. I mean, that's kind of what it's always been about for me. I've gotten more delight out of helping others achieve their goals than any deal I've ever done. So, business is fun, deals are fun and all that, but, those will only fill you to a certain point. At the end of the day, it's all about relationships, and it's all about helping other people, achieve their dreams and goals so that they can in turn impact their world. So it's the butterfly effect. If I can impact you and help you achieve your dreams and your goals and your financial, outcome, what can you do with that? And what kind of impact can you make in the world with that? And that is what you see in the testimonials on my website as well, is that not only were people able to hit business milestones they never thought possible, but now they can give back in ways that they never even thought of. And that they get more excited about than the money they're making or the success they're achieving. So for me, at the end of the day, it's all about impact.
I couldn't agree more. It's 100%. And I always have that idea in my head, like the seeds of a tree. You don't even know what seeds come after. Like, the first seed you plant might just be one tree, but that one tree can have like hundreds of other seeds, and the multiplication of it is just beyond us. And we don't even know what's at the end of it, the lives we might touch in the future. And that's what really propels me forward and what excites me so much about doing everything we're doing.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. My whole life I've been wired that way. I was born a giver, wanting to help others. I mean, that's just how I'm wired. And, the things that I do from a philanthropic standpoint, community service standpoint, I've always kind of been that person in the community doing different things. It's just something I was born with, and it's the way I'm wired. And it fills me in a way that nothing else can. It's hard to describe. But the best way to explain it is, it's March Madness right now, college basketball going on everywhere. Look at the coaches, and what they're doing and why they're doing it, and then the players and what they say about the whole experience. I mean, to me, that's what it's all about. It's coming together as a team, as an organization, and coaching that to success and fulfilling the vision that, that everybody bought into and wanted and created, and taking that to the finish line. And, it's exciting. That's why I like building companies. That's why I like building real estate. That's why I like coaching and mentoring people. It's just, I'm a builder of people. I'm a builder of things. That's what I love to do.
I like it. Well, Craig, thank you so much for your time. I just appreciate you for who you are, the impact you're definitely having in the world. Where can people connect with you if they want to just reach out to you, learn more about your YouTube channel, or become one of your mentees? Yeah,
it's gregdickerson.com. All my info is there. I also have a YouTube channel with thousands of videos, and everything's on that website, gregdickerson.com.
Awesome. Thanks again. Thanks so much for your time.